Before we begin today's episode, do yourself a favor. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this platform, as well as hit the bell button to get notification for future episode releases. Oh yeah, and thank you to all 7 of you. Hello, hi, and hey. My name is Reed Mason, and you are now in Reed's house. And we've got my favorite intruder, Delight on decks. So what we do on here is talk about novels, journals, and the sorts, how you feel about them, and so on and so forth. So now that you know that, let's get this started.
Law 1. Never outshine the master. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior. Hide the extent of your own talents, as your masters may otherwise feel insecure. The better you make your master appear, the greater the level of power you will attain. Those above you want to feel secure and superior in their positions. This may involve making a few harmless mistakes so that you can ask your master for help. If, however, you are more naturally charming than your master, it would be best to avoid working for them entirely. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Friends are more likely to betray you in haste as they are more prone to envy. However, if you hire a former enemy, they will prove themselves more trustworthy as they have more to prove. Consequently, you have more to fear from friends than your enemies. Often, you think you know your friends better than you do. This is because honesty rarely strengthens bonds. So, friends frequently hide their true feelings about each other. As people want to feel they deserved their good fortune in hiring a friend, they can feel undeserving and ultimately resentful. Instead, it's better to hire an enemy as your motives are upfront and are not clouded with personal feeling. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. Always keep your intentions obscured. This way, your opponents cannot defend themselves. Lead them astray, and by the time they realize your plans, it will be too late. Use humankind's tendency to trust appearances to your advantage. By dangling a decoy set of intentions in front of your opponents, they will fail to see what you're really plotting. By cloaking your intentions, people will believe you to be friendly and honest. This will lead further down the wrong path. Additionally, by being bland and inconspicuous, people are even less likely to doubt your intentions as they trust the familiar.
Yo, no. Thank you for that. That was deep. Now I even forgot that I have to introduce you. Your name is?
My name is Tshepang Mamagale.
Hello, Tshepang Mamokale. How are you? Thank you for coming to my house with with Delight on decks. Yeah, that was deep. So I know Tshepang Mamokale because she bumped my car, and after she bumped my car, the sorry was, here's a book, read this to feel a little better. And then the mom gave me earphones because the mom was in the car. She said no. So that was the sorry, because it cost 15,000 to fix the bump she made. And so this friendship is forced. and that's how I know Tshepang Mamokale.
You
Not
can call me Tepi. It's okay.
or Mama Gail. Do you ever get Mama Gail?
From you only.
Gale forces. Anyway, thank you. And what were you reading now? What's the name of the book or the content you're reading?
So the book is called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Robert Greene.
Yes.
I think, wasn't Robert Greene the guy that wrote Seduction? What?
Exactly. He's also got The Power of Seduction and a couple more other books as well. Yeah, they kind of sort of outline. So for seduction, it tells you about how to seduce and what kind of seductress are you.
Ah.
In 48 Laws of Power, it literally gives you 48 laws on how to attain power. Yeah, so we can get into it.
I don't mind. Yes, I'll definitely like you read 3 laws, and I heard the third one. So ain't like this confuse the enemy has proper literature for it.
So I'll be honest, right? When I bought this book, I had heard about Robert Greene and the 48 Laws of Power. But I think literally opening up the first page, I was a little bit struck on the level of, I want to call it amoral, abruptness, forwardness, and like just blatant, I don't know what to call it, on a page. I literally closed it and I was like, oh, this is too much for me, because it almost felt like I was reading a book on how to teach me to be manipulative. If we take, for example, never let your master, I think it was never let your master know, the first one, never outshine the master, for example.
Mm.
If you take that and you use it in a relationship setting, and your master is potentially your significant other, and constantly using that law to wield power for yourself, but by making your significant other feel as though they're powerful. So, yeah, so for me, I haven't finished the book because, again, it makes me feel as though, yeah, I'm learning how to be vindictive and manipulative and how to use people for my own personal gain. But at the end of the day, is like what I ask myself is that what life is about? Personal gain at the end of the day. Can you fight? How far can you fight this cause with the masses as opposed to yourself? So yeah, so I think it catches me in a bit of a in between. Because obviously also reading, you don't necessarily have to take what the book gives you, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that this is such an instructional book, you can't help but like read it, think about it, and then subconsciously you almost want to also implement at the same time. So yeah.
It makes me wonder, did you get yourself onto this podcast by using any of those laws?
I think naturally I have a natural charm anyway.
That's law number 2, right? Do I have charm? Is it one of those where you read the laws and like, oh, this is how this guy is, or there's someone I know that definitely uses these attributes, and it now makes sense because they put it in a book. Do I have any of those qualities?
I think you're the perfect candidate for someone to use those laws on.
Delight is the listener. I want to skip to the part where we ask Delight to ask a question. But thank you. What's nice about having you here is that you actually answered the first official question I wanted to ask about how you came across the book and how do you feel about it so far from what you've read. And you said it's so nice. I mean, what was the deciding factor to actually get the book? Because you say that you saw it open the first page and something. Then getting it, what was that?
So I come from I'm a creative, right? So I work in advertising, and I've always worked in advertising agencies, and the long hours were just too strenuous. So I moved into corporate, only to realize that corporate is like a different beast on its own. And that's, by beast, I don't mean on a work front. I actually mean like the underlying power struggles or use of power that we might not necessarily see, but that are used on a day-to-day basis that run a corporate setting. And I was literally a virgin to that type of underlying power, if I can put it that way. So I think I bought the book just to like equip myself, because ultimately working 10 years in agency, I felt like I was sitting on the back foot on people who had started working in corporates and already understand how those powers work. And there was no amount of Suits or Succession or any other series that I could have watched to understand how to use that power for myself. So, like everything else, you go to a book, and I found 48 Laws of Power, and then when I ordered it on Takealot, actually, when it arrived, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I can learn some like tactics or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but I think I was just not ready for what that book gave me. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, I think in my mind, I had an idea of like power was about like, you know,
You
like
move there.
yeah, like
You do
a
this.
practical sense,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
as opposed to the fact that you have to be so calculative. It has to be like ingrained in you
Oh, yeah.
as part. It's almost part of like your personality, and that's not necessarily me. Like I think I'm a very um, let's do it together, let's move together, let's work together for a bigger cause, I suppose. And 48 Laws of Power seems very like a solo event. It needs to be about me and how I can get power and how I can get to the top. It feels very selfish. It feels very like manipulative, and I have like this I guess fear, if I'm being really honest with myself, that I will become what this book says you need to become in order to succeed. And my question is, in as much as I want to succeed in life, is that I suppose, the sacrifice I'll have to make in order to succeed? One of the laws, I think it's law number 7, it says, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credits. I'm one person who always gives credit where credit is due, right? So yeah, I just feel a sense of turmoil, I guess,
My
every
God.
time I'm reading this book.
Yo, it deals with you live,
Yes,
emotionally.
yes, yes, and
Oof.
questions, I suppose if you're really a person who gives deep thoughts, like you tend to then question who you are and how far you are willing to go for what you feel is necessary
Yeah.
to accomplish whatever it is that you feel you need to accomplish. So yeah.
I'm, so can it not be something that you learn in the corporate space? Did you have to get the book to see how the real nitty gritty underlying dark side of the industry actually is, or the corporate, or can you not just go in there and then after 10 years now you know that you need to be this person, you need to be this 48 laws?
I felt like I didn't have 10 years. I felt like, and maybe it's a pressure I was putting on myself. I felt like I didn't have the 10 years. I felt like people were getting ahead at like a blink of an eye just because they know someone who knows someone, or they've got certain things that they can do. Um, so yeah, so I felt like I at least needed some grade 1 knowledge. So that, because also like I was going into corporate already a senior, I wasn't going
Oh
into
yeah,
corporate
yeah,
as
yeah,
a junior.
yeah.
So I would sit in these boardrooms and these conversations where I need to persuade people into a certain direction that I felt was good for the company. But what I realized is that it's not about what's good for the company, it's about what's good for the individual. um
Yeah.
so I suppose I was still living a quite idealistic view.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed the book. Let's put it that way.
Oh my. I'm not scared of it. I know you wanted to discuss it, I mean, outside of the platform. I'm so scared of what I might get out of it. And also you said you're a manager sometimes. So I don't want you using those things on me to get me to listen to what you got to talk about in the book. So the next question was, thanks for the answers you gave. How many of the laws have you read so far?
I've read 3.
did you not say law number 7 just now? That's...
No, the reason why is that at the front of the page, it gives you literally like a summary of all the laws.
Okay.
So I've read a summary of all the laws, but I haven't gone in depth of all the laws.
Okay.
So there's literally 48, and I've read a summary of all 48 of them, but I haven't gone in depth to read each chapter and of all the laws. Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine what you're going to feel like once you finish it. So what the question was actually going to be was there a hype before the book? Was there a hype during what you've read so far? And you sent me the message, even voice notes, and we're like, yo, my nigga, we need to talk about this. Like, does it live up to it? Because I have this thing of, I need to digest what I'm going to read. And then there's the digesting after. Does it keep up at the same level? Is it going up all the time?
So I generally don't read these types of books.
Oh,
So I'm a novel or yeah, usually South African fiction. Those are the type of books I read for, I suppose, escapism. But I've tried to kind of sort of diversify the types of books I read. So I think this is amongst the few books that I've started reading that are practical books. In terms of living up to its standard or hype or whatever, there wasn't really a hype prior. I think I bought it because I felt a need to buy it. But in a sense, I don't know if I should call fear hype because it was forcing me to face something that I didn't necessarily think I'd have to face while reading the book. Usually, some books like fiction, that you go through a character and you kind of sort of personify yourself within the character, and that in in essence, it kind of sort of teaches you about yourself. But I didn't expect a practical book to also do the same thing, but in such a harsh way. Like it wasn't even, it's not sugarcoating anything, like
That's nice.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying my best to answer your question.
You're still reading it now.
I am still reading it.
What is that emotional? You know what? Because I get. I was reading a book called Mind Power, and so I've already got my thoughts on how certain books might be. So I did it for, as you said, you need to expand what you're reading, and I was just rolling my eyes at everything because it's not that I didn't know this stuff, but it's more of like, I need to go back and check myself after this or during it. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I maybe didn't like hearing that I need to put in the work. I need to do this, this, and that, so that everyone else gets some sort of credit. So I just wanted to know while you're still reading it, because you're on chapter law number 3. during reading, as you got into law number 3, emotionally, how are you dealing with actual fact? Because it's not like me telling you something, or it's not. This is in a book. It's a reprimanding from a book and telling you, you know what, all this smiling and charming
ain't gonna work for you.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. Now you need to. Yay.
So your question was, how am I dealing with this?
Yeah, how are you dealing with it so far?
I think I'm taking it honestly one step at a time. It is feeling like a self-help book. It literally is feeling like a self-help book. And I guess it's a case of, you know, how a person views themselves. And that's why I think I'm having a difficult time, because I view myself in a particular way. And then there's this thing that tells me, dude, like, you need to make shit work for you, you know? And if you don't, then be comfortable at the bottom of the food barrel. And a person like myself is pretty ambitious. So it's like, I ain't comfortable there.
Yeah.
But am I willing to do this? So I'm not rushing the book. I'm reading it, taking it in, and ultimately I'll take what I feel is necessary and leave what I feel I cannot do. Like, it is not in me to do. Like, I can't. One of the things I think when I was reading the summary was law number 10, which is in fiction: avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. So when I was reading the summary, it was talking about avoiding negative people, avoiding people who always like, this job is cock and whatever, you know what I mean? And I genuinely believe that. Like, I genuinely believe you should avoid naysayers, you know, party poopers, etc. You should always have a positive mind. So there are, I suppose, as I continue reading the book, there might be certain things that I agree with and I can take with me. But then there are certain things that I'm happy to leave on the page and not bringing into my personal life. So I'm taking the book one step at a time and actually absorbing it and figuring out what I'm going to leave and what I'm going to take.
Thank you for saying that, because now we are for sure going to get you back on this. So that then you give us a proper summary and let us know which laws you kept, which one you didn't. Because I'm now curious. when you say leave some on the page and take some, and when you're done, I would assume the emotional turmoil would be when to apply these laws. Do I use this on friends? Because the same laws you use at work can't be the same that you're going to be using at friends or kids, if you have any, or brothers, or So you'll find you are using all the laws, but not all the laws for one setting.
Yeah.
Is that not something that you fear might happen once you say this was really a good book? And I think I can apply this because we're so much at work. And then when you go home, some of us don't know how to switch off. Do you not fear that aspect?
I think maybe that's why at the beginning I said I fear reading the book, especially some of the stuff that I don't personally believe in, because I feel like it's quite manipulative, right? Um, and that's why I fear it so much, because I fear that I'm going to take some of it into my personal setting, and that is not who I am. And I don't necessarily need to do that, because I feel like in a personal setting, you don't need to manipulate somebody to be your friend. Either you need to be your authentic self. In a business setting, people don't give a damn if you like your authentic self or not. Can you do the job or not, right?
True story.
So that's why because I struggle to separate work and my work self and my personal self. Like I appear as I do.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately that's why for me, I feel like I just need to leave some onto the page and take what I feel is actually would be good for me in either business setting or a personal setting. It does not matter. And also, like, I think books like this, it's great. It's all great and well to actually finish the book. But I think in order to actually take what the book has told you, you actually need to practice a lot of the stuff that's on that page. I think it's difficult to try and be someone that you're not. You can try it maybe for like a month or two, but your true self always comes out. So I think even after reading the book, if there are just some stuff that I do not agree with or that are not part of me, it'll be very difficult to practice. And if I really wanted to practice them, I'll probably have to read the book over and over again for me to become what it says I should be.
I'm glad that you got the strength for that, because I personally, what happens with me is whatever book I'm consuming, I become that thing for the time I'm reading it. So
True.
for the time that I'm reading some book that Bill Gates recommended, and it's about space travel and all of that, and you get so caught up in it, and then now everything I want to do is NASA. I go on Instagram. I want to check NASA. I get a shirt, NASA, all those kind of things. So, you won't be suffering. Do you ever have that kind of situation? I mean, now that you are bringing up a book that is it's not just a novel. It's not just it's not just some storytelling. It's like, this is life. I think if I read this, I'll be a dick for maybe 2-3 months.
I think, not to boast, but I think I have
My man.
a sense of what's the word, like self-awareness.
Yeah.
And to kind of sort of like to guard who I've grown to be today.
Yeah.
Because it didn't take, like, it wasn't an overnight growth. So I guard that piece. I guard who I am today very carefully. And I don't guard like, okay, security, you know what I mean? But I think it's a subconscious thing to almost say, like, Tshepang, like, you've gone through so much that, like, you need to be self-aware in every situation. So even in as much as this book can say things like, hire your enemy, like my true self in my blood, I'm just like, hell no.
If I don't like you, I don't like you.
And there's gonna be a point there, this person's gonna stab me in the back.
Straight talk.
So you know what I mean? So I'm just like, I just can't do it. So funny enough, the people that I have hired, either they have become friends or they were previous friends.
Oh, okay.
And I think they also think a lot like myself.
Yeah.
So we always work together for the greater good. We always look out for each other. In as much as I'm their boss
Yeah.
and they are, reporting into me.
The boss
But we
sees.
have we have a level of like camaraderie.
Yeah.
Where we come together and we work together. And I feel like that's such a beautiful thing for me. As opposed to enemy where I have to like constantly check myself, and I hate checking myself.
Eish.
I hate having to look over my shoulder. So with the people that I work with now, like I'm at my most comfortable knowing that we're working together for both of our successes. Yeah.
That you go on like that, it makes me wonder if this book is considering all situations, or is it like a blanket kind of thing going on where some of us are hiring our brothers, our sisters, our friends, because the conception is for the greater good. But from the 5 laws that you have mentioned, because you said 1, 2, 3, you said 7, and you brought up 10. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of being selfish.
Yep.
And this power, I hope it covers everything. Money is what I want. Does that?
I'm sure there's something about
do they cover money? I hope they cover money. I'll go straight to that point. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing this if I had money. But still, do you feel so far from what you've read that they are covering all bases, or is this something that you want to apply for industry?
I think it's difficult to say if they're covering all bases, because I almost feel like it's a skeleton, like, how do I call it? Like a skeleton structure.
Yeah.
And then you kind of sort of have to put the meat on yourself.
I want to eat that meal. Whatever it is you're eating, it starts with bones first.
Do you know what I mean? Like this is the skeleton I'm giving you.
Yeah.
And then you have to say, okay, cool. In my setting.
Yeah.
How will I? So that's why I was saying I find it difficult to say that it covers all bases, because you need to take that skeleton and then work it towards your own setting. So
from I like the third one, using your own setting. I hope that counts with the lingo, because I swear it, when you are done reading the title of the third law, I was thinking, confuse the enemy. I mean, that can't be nice.
But you see, I also, funny enough, I actually find that one, I also feel like you should conceal your intentions.
Okay.
So I believe, and I had to learn this, right?
Uh-huh.
I was one of those people, if I was going to buy a house or buy a car or in a relationship, I would tell like, oh, my man.
Guys, you don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, it used to be that type of thing.
Yeah.
Only to realize, like,
some people don't care, man.
Not even don't care. Like, they don't want the best for you. They could be your best friends or people in your circle, but they don't necessarily want you to outshine them. Hence, don't outshine your master, Always conceal your intentions. Because if I were to tell you today, I want to start a business and I want it to be a hair salon. Hair salon?
Yeah.
Do you know how many hair salons are there? And already it's like, okay, maybe I need to think of something else. But who's to say, like, my hair salon won't be the best in the country? It's like, for example, like Legends Barber. There was a trillion barbers before he came along. But everybody knows Legends Barber now. Do you know what I mean? So I believe in concealing your intentions, and it should just be between yourself and your goals. And people will see upfront when you have made it. You're like, oh, Tshepang, you didn't tell us you were. It's like, oh.
48 laws, bitches. No.
I didn't realize I needed to make a public announcement about my personal life,
Yeah.
So things like that, like, I actually do believe that, like, you need to conceal your intentions, confuse your enemy, because sometimes your enemy is somebody that you don't realize they're actually your enemy,
I fear that part.
Yeah, so it's like, rather just keep
Delight
it quiet.
likes what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I love Delight.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I can't. I don't think I'll be ready to read the book. Yeah, because I'll take everything as a joke. So this is leading to the question I want to ask now: is what's the emotional intelligence capacity to have for this? Can you give this to a 20-year-old? Can you give this to a 30-year-old? Who's best suited to read this? Is this information we all need to know? Because I'm thinking of emotional intelligence and capacity.
Yo, that's a difficult question.
Yeah, I asked a good question. Thank God. Yo, because you're so comfortable answering everything.
No, because
I'm now the master. Is that what the first law? I'm now master.
You know, maturity doesn't always come with age. Emotional intelligence doesn't always come with age. Some people are just like super deep at like 18 or 19 or 20, and they might be ready to read the book. But some people at 40, it would like literally fly over their heads.
Yeah.
So I can't put it in terms of age.
Okay.
Or I think it's a internal readiness to read the book and understand the book. So there was a book that I actually read by Silo Daker. It's a semi-autobiography.
Silo Daker.
Yeah, shame he actually committed suicide. But
yeah, you've told me about him.
I think I have, yes. And the first time I read that book, I think I was maybe 21. I read the first couple of pages. I'm telling you, I just didn't get it. I was just like, what? Like, and mind you, it's like it's an autobiography, right? So
should
I mean,
clear.
like, what part can't you get?
Yeah.
He went to the shop and bought milk. You know what I mean? But I didn't get it because he was like hella deep, like he's very deep. And then I closed the book. I was like, okay, this is a piece of shit.
Did you finish it?
Listen to the story.
Yeah.
Then I've got this thing where I buy lots of books.
Oh yeah, I know.
And then I kind of sort of leave them and then I'll go back to them. So, and then I was like, okay, I've run out of books to read. Let me just go back to this one and see. Like, because I've read the reviews on him, that he's a really amazing writer. He won awards and all of those things. I'm like, there must be a reason why. Then I went back and I read the book. And I was mind blown. Like, I was mind blown. And I think it took a certain level of maturity to understand what he was talking about. And I wasn't quite there at that time. So I think it's the same with this book. It's not necessarily age. I think it's where you're at in your life to understand. I fear sometimes that if you're not ready for this book, you will take this book as is, as raw as it is, and implement as is. And I would like to believe that was not the intention. I would love to believe that. I don't know if it was or wasn't, but
it
I would
sounds
love to
so
believe.
harsh. Maybe it is meant for that.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But then I feel like you are not necessarily writing your own story, if that makes sense. You kind of sort of taking somebody else's laws and implementing into your life. So yeah, so to answer your question in short, I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's a readiness thing. I think it's a openness. If that's who you are, take the book as raw as it is and implement as raw as it is.
Yeah.
If maybe that's not who you are, like myself, take what you feel is necessary for you and then leave what you feel is unnecessary and keep it moving. And if it's not for you at all, don't read the book.
I'll read it because you brought it up to me before even doing this podcast thing. So I'll definitely take a look at that.
You should.
But I mean, so far from what you've read, as my next question, so far from what you read, do you think this is something worth sharing? Because there are a couple of people you do know. Is the maturity level there? Is the emotional capacity for taking this in? And once you do the sharing, then what? I mean, because you will tell me your interpretation before it, or however we do it, and I must understand that. No, I'm not. You said your name is Tshepi. I'm not Tshepi, so I won't take it this way. Do you feel so far that this is the kind of book that you will want to share once it's done? Because this is
I think I definitely would share it, but I'll probably share it with people that I feel closer to.
I hope you heard that.
I think it's definitely a book. I mean, I've already told like a friend at work
Mm,
about the book and that they should read the book.
yeah.
So yes, I would share it, but I think I would share it with I don't know, people that I feel have the capacity to take in what it says.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. And not just, I don't know. It's like sharing, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
It's not like sharing food.
Yeah,
It's like,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
chicken tastes like chicken. It's got nothing to do with
So
your maturity.
yeah, people who can actually take it in
Yeah.
and it won't make them bad people. It will make them strategic thinkers potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I get it right when I'm done with it. Because because I set up the questions thinking you're done with it. So I can catch up. Is that what you mean? Okay. Watch me finish it by next week. You're like, you know what, Tepi, I don't have time for this. I'm the master. I won't do that though. Because I'm thinking about the debriefing. Once you're done reading it, how much time do you take to consume what you had just read? Or is it per chapter, consume, think about it, act it out, go forward? Or is the real crux of the book once you're done with all 48 laws?
I think currently, usually I read a book, and when I put it down, I'm like, yo, wow, like what a book, right?
Yeah.
That's when I suppose consume it.
Yeah.
But with this one, I don't think I was strong enough to read all 48 and then consume it at the end. So I'm literally reading a chapter, consuming, reading a chapter, and yeah, it's literally per chapter.
Is there a different emotion each chapter? Because for this one,
Yes.
like, yeah, boss, and then you go dress all nice. Then the next chapter,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
always keep a little bit, then you a bit more reserved. I cover my cleavage. So per chapter, the debriefing process. I'm so sorry. Does it include that?
So, I don't know if you can give me time to read this.
Oh yeah,
law,
please,
right?
please do.
So per chapter, like I say, I keep, like I consume, right? So there's law number 4 says, always say less than necessary. Powerful people know how to impress others by saying less. The more you say, the more likely it is that you will end up saying something foolish. As people are constantly trying to work out what others appear to be thinking, silence makes them feel uncomfortable. By controlling what you reveal, you can wield great power. After all, they are likely to fill the silences you leave, revealing more information about their own intentions and weaknesses.
Mm.
So, like that part, I don't know if you've realized, I enjoy talking. I enjoy conversations.
We enjoy talking and conversation.
But I think like I like law number 4, I feel like I need to take some knowledge from that. Because especially if you're sitting in a room where there's way more senior people than you and way more junior people than you. And by junior, it could also be people who are actually reporting into you. So you need to be very careful on how you present yourself in that setting where you're literally sitting in the middle. You need to impress those ones, but at the same time, you need to make sure that the people that report into you find you intelligent or trust you or whatever the case is. So I think in this one, saying less is always better. And I think that's a law that I think I would potentially practice. So I will need to learn and consume it and say, okay, cool. The next meeting I'm in, do a lot more listening as opposed to talking. And this again, unlike my previous background where I came from agency, where you need to present your work and to persuade people into thinking the way you are thinking or the way whatever it is that you're presenting. In a corporate setting, you learn more from listening to what superiors say as opposed to talking and potentially actually saying something super foolish that you didn't know anything about. So
that point you brought up, the 4th law, I think I used it in a different way. I sat in an interview the one time and also, what is your weakness? I like, my weakness is that I like to listen. But I didn't mean it that way. Why I said that was because I like to do some listening first, and whatever the situation is. So, for example, if we do the example of fighting, I'll be quiet at first because I want to listen, digest, and now when you're a little older,
I can agree with that.
You have to listen to, okay, what tone did they use? What was it at this point that they got close to the mic, or were they loud and stuff? So I digest all of that, and sometimes once I'm done with that, it's up to me on how to deal with it, and I leave too much space for it's up to me to deal with how to respond to what I've listened to. Because listening is not just with your ears. You have to check body movement. You have to be aware of all the other extra information you get as you get older. And at the end, sometimes I don't come back to say, remember from what you said the last time, this is it. Sometimes I just keep it to myself because I don't want to go through this again. I don't have the emotions you have. so I'm going in and out of wanting to get this book and get it. So it really does sound like an interesting book to get. I mean, also you read it so nice. Can you please do like a voice recording of the whole thing so that I have like an audiobook?
No, I'm not.
So I in one of the guests, I did ask, how do you imagine the certain voices? Are you hearing a man's voice when you're reading this?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so that's why I said you should try the. You should try the
it's a very masculine book. I will be very honest.
Yeah.
It's very like black and white.
Yeah.
Like there is no gray area type thing.
That's what makes the gray area. No, I'm joking. It's just a bad joke. I know I'm extremely funny,
but a terrible joke. If I'm being very honest.
No, you're a bit too honest sometimes. Shouldn't do that. Okay, so from the laws, which law grabbed you so hard that like, yes, sis, no, I'm not going to read this one. Because you don't have to read it in order. I'm going to leave this one for the last so that I know when I'm done, I'm going to cry.
Pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Makes me wonder what people I'm in a room with.
I think
pose as a friend.
So for me, obviously, like in a work setting, not everybody can be your friend, and clearly understand that. But what I cannot do is pose as a friend. I struggle. I cannot do that. So it's amongst the ones that I'm going to leave for last. And understand why it's been said. So I'll make an example as well. When I started in corporate, there always used to be these ladies, and not to make this racial or anything, but these ladies will always be, oh my gosh, Sam, must I make you a cup of tea? Must I make you a cup of coffee? And that would generally be to like their fellow white colleagues, right? And I was just like, oh, they just kiss asses, whatever. But those very people are the ones that got the promotions, are the ones that got the awards, are the ones that got way further ahead at work than us who were like, yes, we'll be the EFF people of our, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see it working for others. But for me, I don't know. I just feel like, can I really be fake to that level? Is it fakeness? Is it like can I really do that and almost like pretend that someone is my friend when they are not? Whereas I'm actually just with them to spy and get information about certain things that will catapult me to the next, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's amongst the ones that I'm just like, yo, guys, like, do we have to do that?
I don't think I want to read that chapter. I'll leave it out.
I think don't leave any laws out. I think read all of them. Like I say, there's some that you can just leave on the page. Like you really do not have to take it with you. I mean, it's up to you if you want to take it with you or not, but you can. But then there's some that I feel that yourself, you can take it forward if you want.
Sure. Oh,
as long as when you look in the mirror, you recognize yourself.
I always lose myself because already with my beard, I comb it in different angles depending on the day and who it is. Do they say anything about facial appearance? Do they
I
say
will
anything about
choose
appearance?
not to comment on that
Yeah,
one.
no,
Thank you.
yeah. Can we deal with it now? Because no, I joke. Um, Thank you very much for sharing that book
Yes.
with me in my house, Reed's house. So far from what you've read, based on the laws that you've summarized
Mm.
from the summary, because you can't give us the book. This is why we need to have you again once you're done with it. From the summary and what you've read so far, how much would you rate it out of five?
So I'll give a reason why first, why I'm rating it, what I'm rating it. I feel like we need more books than are like this. And like this mean unapologetic. You either take it or you leave it. I'm also a person that hates sugarcoating. Like, if it's bad, just tell me I'm going to die tomorrow. So I can handle that right now. Don't tell me, now potentially you have a full weeks, but with chemo, then you can. No, like, let's
Uh,
just rip the
Let me
band-aid
just
off.
die.
So I like books like this because they're unapologetic. You take it, you leave it, it's raw. So I will give it for now, a 3.5 for now.
Three and
Until
a half.
three and a half.
You like to rate books so high, and I wonder why. Because it's just five. You don't have to give it then.
I
If
feel
if I
you
give
don't
you a three,
rate books high enough.
which books have I rated very low that you thought was high? Don't get me started on Dan Brown. I don't rate Dan Brown. So don't like. Can we not? Let's not emotionally step on that. But let's step on toes. I don't rate. I don't rate Dan Brown. Very good writer. Very intuitive. Also, he really does put in the research work.
Mm.
It's just it feels too rushed at the end. He rushes things. It can't be that my room is blue. That therefore it means something. No.
Well, books are subjective. They are a form of art. So what you perceive and what I perceive as a good book is complete
I
can
hope
be
Dan
completely
Brown can hear me.
different.
I hope it gets to his ears. He needs to write something else. Oh, but the book you
I
got me was
enjoy
very nice.
I enjoy his books. I really do
You rate them
enjoy
all
books.
five?
No, I wouldn't say 5. I'd say a 4. Um, I don't know if there's a book worth 5 out of 5, but like you said, as you said, I must rate this one. So this one is a three and a
Three and a
half.
half.
Yeah,
And I
because
hope
I
it can
really
increase.
do. I don't know. We'll see
Yeah.
as it goes. And it's as per interpretation, like I
Yes.
said. And yeah.
As per interpretation. That's why it's nice to share.
Mm,
If you give me an idea of how you rated it and we discuss it
mm,
so that I know what to expect in terms of the rating it had given.
mm.
It doesn't have to sway my work because I went online and looked for this book. They're giving it very high ratings. One of it gave it a 5 star out of 5. And
see?
everything else gave it a
Mm.
4. And again, you're right, within context, because rating is not as simple as just, yeah, it was a good book. You have to think about writing
Yes.
style. Who is he? Was it misogynistic? Was it racial? Was it
Mm.
this and that? How close is it to something else?
Mm.
Oh, that's a nice rating.
So yeah. So for now, for me, I think it's a 3.5.
From what you know about me, how much do you think I would give it? I'm so curious.
1.5.
I gave that mind power. I gave it 1 out of 5 because it was real. I did the Tshepang thing. I was rolling my eyes so hard. I think my brother could hear it from downstairs. Like, no, it's bad. And even when I discussed it afterwards, like, guys, I can't rate this thing higher than this because do you find that in this book, there's things you knew now that it's just on paper and the digestion
Yes.
process is different?
It's the one that I told you about. Stay away from the unlucky and the unhappy, I think it was.
Yeah, misery breeds
Yeah,
company.
loves company. Yes, misery does love company.
Oh, okay. What's the saying? Misery loves company.
company, yeah.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say breeding.
I don't know. What I was gonna say.
Where does breeding fit in?
So even that one I knew, and I always try to stay far away from people who are always complaining. It is exhausting. And unfortunately, what happens is that you become that person as well. constantly complaining. Oh, you
Mm,
know what they did? Oh, it's so bad. Eh.
mm,
And then before you know it, you're looking for another job
yeah.
because you are unhappy.
Yeah.
But are you unhappy? Are you really
Are
unhappy?
you really unhappy? Yeah.
So stay away from those people.
Mm. Oh, but that's you broke it down very well. I felt like I read the book on this. We only spoke about 5 or 6 chapters. Oh well, those are the questions from me, and thanks for the discussion. Delight, do you have anything to ask or to add on to this? I really would like your opinion, please. You usually ask questions, and you ask questions that I know I never had foresight for. So, if Delight has a question, please.
So yeah, this is very interesting. Nice to have you as a guest, Sippy.
Tshepang
It's
Mamogeo.
nice to know that you know about a book you don't know because you never read it. But yeah, there's a lot to take from it. From my view, I don't really have a question, but just an observation I made of what you mentioned with the book is that it sounds as though to avoid the whole manipulation and all those other things is just to base it on a self-help type of approach, and therefore self-help is about finding balance. So for instance, if you're someone who's charismatic, uh or what is it, charismatic,
Yeah, yeah.
but someone who has a lot of, yeah, vibe, there's no need
Like
for you to
like
learn
you
social
two.
there's no need for you to learn social skills, not really. So focus on the other things. The thing is, if that guy learns social skills or he extends it, he becomes manipulative, he becomes a liar, he
Oh.
knows how to go further than they should. And it's all about just finding finding the imbalance you have and then balancing it out. Like you mentioned, how speaking is a problem. That's something I also identified, that vele vele I should keep quiet a bit. But if I already speak a lot, if I shouldn't be learning about how to speak more.
Oh yeah.
And that's where the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
manipulation and stuff comes in. And
Yeah.
I guess the emotional intelligence or just certain intelligence doesn't allow for people to distinguish that difference. And that's why you fortunately are cautious in knowing that, no, this is going to add to a negative trait. So yeah, that's what I picked up. Thank you very much. Continue.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is definitely something I want to go check out. The book,
Okay.
the author, the seduction, what. If I'm allowed to talk about it, they recommend other authors to read, and I had read some guy that was teaching guys on how to approach girls. I read that whole book, 100 and something pages. I I read the whole book, and when I was done, I'm like, yes. Have you seen the part in what's this movie again? Infinity War, Marvel with Thanos
Yes.
when he gets
That arm
that
thing.
arm thing,
Yes.
and so when I was done, I felt like that. I just was like, yes, now I'm gonna get all these hands. Oh, as soon as I stepped out the house, hello.
The true self came out.
Hello. And they teach you about how to stand, how to approach, and I like that the end he does say that it's trial and error.
Yeah.
There's no way you're gonna remember all these things at the same time, and you won't apply them all at the same time. The the keep your enemies closer. What you won't apply all the time, not because we're not enemies now. So and the friends that you've already got, and don't perceive everyone to be an enemy. So some people want to get into your life and just be there because it's genuine. So I didn't understand it at that time. It's only now, and I remember those things still because I read it and I discussed with my friends and like, but in real life, when they say, don't be afraid of girls, it's not going to happen now. I'm going to stay afraid of girls. And but it did teach quite a lot. So is that how the seduction book is as well?
So I've read the.
Can I use it now?
I've read The Power of Seduction. I've also read a few pages as well. And in there, it tells you about different types of seductress, I guess.
Yes.
So not just from a female perspective,
Yes,
but also from a male.
Yeah, because he covers Cleopatra.
Yes, but he also covers like from a male perspective, and he looks at history as well.
Yes.
And he looks at the advantages and disadvantages of different, and I think I haven't read the whole book, so I could be completely wrong, but I think in the beginning it tells you the different types of seductress, so you can identify what type of seductress you are. So are you a Cleopatra? Are you whatever the case is? And then as the book carries on, then it will start unpacking about the power of seduction, if you will, and how to use it, not use it, whatever. So I haven't read the book, so I cannot comment at this point. I've only read a few pages.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like 48 Laws of Power, yeah,
It's gonna. I actually want to read it too.
yeah, because there's also the power of war. I think it's war. It's a green. I remember it's green on the outside, and how to win war. I think, or how to strategize during war. Now, from the fact that I read 48 Laws of Power and I'm busy reading it, I almost feel like I need to read all his books and how he views certain things. Or how he writes about certain things. So that's also a book that I want to read, because I think in a war setting, for some reason, I feel like that I can take, because power is pre-war. War, you in the war. And that's almost feels like conflict management, and they try to teach you conflict management at work, and you're just like, oh my gosh,
so boring.
like how, yeah. So I feel like in a war setting, to strategize against
peace.
they are already your enemy. You know what I mean? Therefore, you can strategize. I don't know. Maybe it's my dark self coming out.
Always knew you had a dark side. Thank you. At least that's coming out.
So yeah, but I do want to read more of his books. I'll be very honest. Based on this one and how blunt it is.
So it's safe to say you definitely recommend him as an author and not just one book.
Yes, I would. I would.
But I will check it out.
Approach with caution.
I'll put my heart aside.
Yes,
I'll definitely approach
with caution.
Yeah, thanks. Me and Delight will definitely check it out.
Awesome.
Kankani. We'll check it out. Yeah, definitely. And thanks for recommending it. And thank you for taking the time to be in my house.
You're welcome.
And I'm supposed to give you a gift. But I'll do fun with flags. No, you do have your gift. Don't worry. But thank you very much for being with us, taking the time to express your feelings.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's always fun talking to you about books. Are there any socials we can check you out where you are talking about your books and posting a book at least? Yeah, that's something we. Socials, Instagram, Twitter, cell phone number.
I'm one of those like.
I have a cell phone number if you guys want to.
No. So I'm one of those people who are also anti-social media.
Yeah.
I feel like it chows too much of time, and time is life. So.
All life is time.
I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter.
Oh gosh.
I have Instagram, which I deactivate now and again, and then go back to check if I really need something on there. So I'm not on the socials. So yeah.
So how do you guys?
In essence,
and they're missing out because you're pretty, yo. So everyone's just gonna be curious about this Tshepang lady.
But so yeah, so I think when we meet, we'll meet. You can follow me on Instagram, suppose, if you want, but I'm not very engaged on there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Well, I'll definitely stalk you on Instagram. You've got Instagram, right? Yes. And it's your name, as you said in the beginning of the podcast. Got you out, my nigga.
It is my name.
Delight is going down. Let's go start following. But yeah, thank you very much. And you can now leave.
Thank you. And goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. No, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome. It was great.
Never invest yourself fully into any belief, or you give it the power to destroy you. Read instead.